Recently, I made a video referencing the BBC comedy The Good Life. It's all about giving up your boring 9-to-5 job and becoming self-sufficient. Now, The Good Life always had a strong appeal to me, and I do actually grow a lot of my own vegetables. But a man cannot pay his mortgage on broccoli alone. For several years, I actually had a almost passive income from different websites I had on cycling, economics, and biographies of famous people. It enabled me to be a almost full-time amateur cyclist. It was really a good life. And in fact, I actually started this YouTube channel back in 2009, just after the credit crunch. But I didn't think there was much future in video, so I stuck to writing articles. Another one of my great predictions, you might say. I never really intended to ever be a YouTuber. It didn't particularly appeal to me. But in 2022, just after COVID, traffic to my websites went down a lot. I was relying on Google search and Google changed their algorithm and things like that. But anyway, so I thought, well, maybe I can boost my website by embedding videos from YouTube into it. So I made academic ones like Causes of Inflation. But then you start to notice that some with more interesting titles start to do a bit better. And after a year of posting videos, some of them not very good, but I did finally get to 1,000 subscribers and became monetized. That was in about September 2022. Now, 2 years ago, I made a video about how much I earned from YouTube. And then in January 2023, I calculated an hourly rate of about $4 an hour, but I did hope that the income would grow up. Now, it has gone up, but it's still pretty hard work. I will show overall earnings at the end of the video, but also want to show you a bit about what goes into making a video for YouTube. Is it worth it? The pros and cons of YouTube and what is required if you're ever thinking of doing this kind of thing. Firstly, this is my video setup. I record in a small room, which is quite convenient, but very bad acoustics. The blankets and things are all there to try to absorb sound and make it sound less like you're at the bottom of a well. I've received quite a few helpful comments from viewers over the years about improving the technical aspects of video. And in fact, in this video, I'm trying a new post-processing of the audio to try to make it sound better. Hopefully you might notice a difference. I actually have a good mic, a Shure SMB7, but it's not good enough just to have a good mic. The acoustics of the room, I've learned, is arguably even more important. And another thing about being a YouTuber is that you kind of need to be good at everything. Design, content, audio, technical editing. I have tried to pay people to design a thumbnail, but it's rare they can design one which performs better than my own design. I'm basically a one-man operation, do everything. But on the income I get, there's no financial benefit to try to employ somebody else. It doesn't make financial sense. Now, I do have a teleprompter. When I first started, I spoke off the cuff, and I kind of liked the challenge. But editing was a nightmare. You always forget something. You get the wrong statistic. So I moved to a teleprompter, and I did go through a phase of being too monotone. It's very easy to become a boring speaker, which is something you really want to avoid. Again, comments help from viewers. So I usually record once, but then have to do it again because you've got, teleprompter. It's not about reading. It's about just having that prompt so you can speak naturally. But it's something that you have to work on, like all aspects of YouTube. Sometimes when speaking, I do give up on the teleprompter and go freestyle, but only if I know the topic really, really well. After shooting, I edit in Final Cut Pro. This is actually quite time consuming. For example, I manually remove all irritating mouth noises. The Shure SMB7 microphone is very good, but it picks up everything, including clicks and all that kind of thing. You can try a plugin, but it's better to do it manually. In total, writing, videoing and editing can take around 5 to 6 hours per video. If it needs more research, it can take even longer. Now, it used to take me 2 to 3 days to make a video, but over time you do get quicker. You do learn to have some systems, and then it becomes more kind of productive. Trying to increase your productivity, quite apt to an economics channel. And when you can make one video per day, it definitely feels good. It feels like a sense of progress. So even if one video doesn't do too well, you can always have another go the next day. Sometimes I can even make a video in 3 hours, but only if it's something I don't need to research and I know pretty well. And some still can take 2 days or more. How much do you earn per video? Well, it does depend a lot. As a very rough rule of thumb, a video which gets 20,000 views with about 5-minute view time, you might earn something in the region of $80 to $100. So for 1 day's work, not a huge amount. Though it does depend on the type of video. A video on how to get more per view than, say, a video on is the UK been overtaken by the Polish economy. It was shown a lot in Poland, but ironically, in Poland you get less per click because their incomes are still lower than the UK at the moment. Maybe different in 10 years' time. Now, readers, one of your readers' questions, do you get more engagement with negative news? Yeah, I think that's fair for pretty much all kinds of media. And, a video on how bad the UK economy is doing will tend to get more clicks than a video on green shoots of recovery or things are really good. Also, it's not just about the topic, but how the topic is presented. I always feel there's quite a small margin between a video getting, say, 20,000 views and one which gets 200,000 views. Now, a recent video I did, which did quite well, was how badly is the UK economy doing? And this thumbnail was, classic clickbait. Things are getting much worse. I tried other thumbnails, but this performed by far the best. If exactly the same video had been the Bank of England downgrade their economic forecast, I estimate that exactly the same video would have got more like 15 or 20,000 views. So with YouTube, if you have a really good title and thumbnail, you don't get 20% more views. You can get 1,000, 2,000% more views. And this is kind of the aspect of YouTube I don't really like. It really does reward clickbait. The click-through rate is really important. And the problem is you have a choice as a YouTuber. Either you use those clickbait titles or you get much less traffic. In one semi-viral videos, you can get the same traffic as 10 videos with, you could say, boring titles. The effort is the same, but the outcome is very different. So there is a huge financial incentive to optimize that click-through rate. Timing can also be important. When I started videos on the housing market, house prices did very well. In 2025, it's a different environment, not so popular. I made a great video about the UK budget, but I went on holiday for 3 days, and when I posted it 5 days late, it was yesterday's news. So sometimes you do need to keep on top. Be the first is a big thing. Now, another thing with YouTube is that it does kind of reward you to keep repeating the same video. If you have a video title formula that works, the easiest thing is to fall back and do a similar video. My stock video would probably be problems with the UK economy. I'm lucky in the sense there's always something to write about on that front. But I do make a conscious effort to branch out into other topics. Labour markets, tariffs, US economy, German economy, etc. Sometimes these do okay, but sometimes, quite often, they flop, which means if they get a low click-through rate, Google stops showing them. So even if you're a subscriber, you may never actually see the video in your feed if YouTube don't like it. So, I did this video, a lot of research about the past 100 years, the next 100 years. I thought it was great. It only got 8,000 views. And there's many similar stories like that, especially when I started. I'd spend 2 days on a video and YouTube would kind of kill it off after a few hours, and it was quite demoralizing. So you have to be ready for that. And even now, with a lot of subscribers, you're not guaranteed that every video will do well. When a video has a low click-through rate, YouTube basically stops showing it. Now, last year, in this effort to branch out away from the UK economy, I started a new channel, Global Economics. I worked pretty hard. Those videos were quite time-consuming. A lot of research went into them. And I got about 5,000 subscribers. But some videos were really not getting very many views, even though I thought they were quite good. And I actually did an experiment. I deleted them from the global channel because they only got 4,000, and then put them on this channel. And they got, say, 15,000, even though some of you had probably already seen them on the global channel. What that showed to me is that if you have more subscribers, the same video gets more views. Now, when I started YouTube, many people said subscribers doesn't matter. YouTube just judges the video. Now, it is true that you can have a lot of subscribers and you're not guaranteed that people will watch it. But if you do have more subscribers, it's much easier to get traffic. it's really hard work to get going, to get a critical mass. And, I kind of not given up on that global channel, but I haven't posted for about 5 months. I'll have to see how things go, but you kind of, when you know that the posting to the UK channel will get more views, why bother with the low traffic channel? And another thing is that although I've only been doing it a few years, I kind of felt at the start of this year it was getting harder than ever. Really good quality videos, not really getting much traction. And you kind of feel that with YouTube, the quality and quantity keep rising every year. To use an economic analogy, it's like perfect competition. There's no barriers to entry and exit. Pretty much anybody can set up a YouTube channel. So if there's high profits to be made, other people will enter into the market. So it's very hard to make what we call in economics supernormal profits. It's only the top 0.1% of YouTubers are probably really raking it in. Most people give up, I would imagine, and some like me kind of do okay, but not amazingly spectacular. Another example of click-through rate. Recently I did a video on the amount of speculation going on in financial markets. I compared 2 thumbnails. Will it end in a crash? Question mark. Versus it will end in a crash. The definitive statement did quite a bit better than the question. Now, personally, I would have preferred the question because although there's always going to be a crash sometime, I kind of not that keen on making definitive predictions because you're always going to fail to some extent. But the click-through rate is much higher. So you do better with that kind of video that has confidence. And you do have to be careful with YouTube because once you chase the algorithm, it can, or it could, take you down dark corners. I do remember reading an article about when Russell Brand started adding conspiracy theories to his video. Suddenly it went from 200,000 per view to like 1 million per video. And that's like an extra $10,000, $20,000 per video. So there's a big financial incentive to have a content that kind of explodes. And in fact, YouTube give you a device where you can compare the success of different thumbnails. And I like to use this because it is quite important. And when I started, I didn't want to put my picture on a thumbnail. I don't like seeing my picture everywhere. But I've learned that videos with your picture on do much better. So for example, this one on the German economy, I outperformed Angela Merkel. So there you go. Now, whilst I do use YouTube clickbait title, I don't make clickbait videos. I do base videos on statistics. I'm not trying to make out something it's not. Now, of course, you can use statistics selectively, but I don't try to feel I'm pushing any agenda. And sometimes statistics don't quite show the picture you want to show. You're doing a video on the bad UK economy, everything's terrible. You see a statistic that income inequality has marginally fallen in the past 10 years. It doesn't fit the narrative, but that's what it is. And also I do try to, even if I say the UK economy is doing really badly, at the end of the video I like to look for some, could say, evaluation, some green shoots, some reasons to be more optimistic, so it's not completely one-sided. But I do wonder how different it would have been to be a YouTuber in, say, the mid-90s. Housing affordable, economy doing quite well. Maybe YouTube would have been a lot harder when the economy is doing well and there's not the same kind of interest in that kind of economy. I mean, I certainly remember my website took off when the credit crunch happened in 2008. A lot of interest there. Now, this is a reader's question. I'd like to hear your thoughts on other channels that are into economics. I have to be honest, I don't watch other videos on economics. I did watch, one or two when I started, maybe popular channels like Explaining Economics. The reason is I don't really like the video format. I find them quite slow. It takes a long time to get information. I much prefer reading articles as a way to gain information. And I was kind of surprised when so many people like to watch YouTube videos, because for 15 years, I was writing articles on my website read by about 200 people. I moved to YouTube and suddenly there's loads of interest. So I made a big miscalculation in thinking everybody else is like me. And it's probably why when I started making videos, I would rattle off 100 graphs in 2 minutes and viewers would keep pleading with me to leave them on the screen for longer. They want to take longer time to look at. I mostly read things like the FT, Guardian, Economist, a few Substacks, even books. I do read the blog of Richard Murphy every now and then, but I wouldn't watch his videos. So how much do I make? Well, in the last 365 days, I made a total of $27,800, plus about $1,000 on the global channel. I've also made about $800 from various sponsorships from NordVPN and HelloFresh, although I'm not too keen on those. They're kind of not really worth it. They annoy the viewer and you don't get a huge amount. It's not particularly worth it. I do have some costs, like subscription to video footage, Adobe, but because I don't really pay anybody, there's not very many costs, at least when you bought the setup, which I did back in 2022. So you're looking at a profit of around $28,000 a year. But I do put a lot of time into making YouTubes. It's definitely not passive income. As a very rough estimate, I might spend 30 hours a week for about 45 weeks a year. Very roughly about 1,300 hours, which is an hourly rate of somewhere around $20 an hour, £16 an hour. Not that far off the rate you might get stacking shelves in Sainsbury's. So would I be worth jacking it all in and going to get a job at my local Sainsbury's? Well, a few things to bear in mind. Firstly, the work is 100% flexible, which is great for me. You can do it whenever you want, and that's a big boon. Secondly, I enjoy it. I mean, it's pretty interesting researching the economy. I wouldn't do it for free, but it is a boon to be able to enjoy your job. Thirdly, there is also a sense of growth. The first year, very low income. And as you get more subscribers, you do hope that the income will rise too. But my experience with websites, going up and then crashing, does remind you never to take anything for granted. And in fact, I'm trying to, for the first time in my life, increase savings, which for me means overpaying my mortgage. And fourthly, I am lucky to still have some other income from other aspects. I do a very little bit of teaching and I still get some income from my economics website. Not a huge amount, but no complaints. It's okay. Would YouTube work for you? Well, that's a really difficult question to answer. I would say you'd have to think the first year very much like an apprenticeship. You have to work hard, very little results. A good question to ask is, can you do better than what is already out there? Because if you're just the same as what's already there, it may be hard to get traction and take off. But whatever you choose, don't forget the ideals of a good life. There's always more to life than economic growth and GDP and things like that. So this video looks at my one of my favorite topics, the good life.